Horizon Chance, almost as you reaction, and this is every single Warhammer 40k faction explained by the channel Bricky. This is a part 1 and it's 50 minutes long. There's a part 2 which is an hour long, because of course it is. I watched the Astartes 1 to 4, right? And then I realized there is something called Warhammer. Apparently it was some kind of a board game, then it evolved into this kind of a deep lore thing, which is such a deep lore that most people don't even know everything about it, apparently. Because I was confused in a study, because that's the first time I'm reacting to anything Warhammer. And people say that don't worry, even the people who know are confused lots of times. So I guess this apparently explains it in the best way. So I love lore, right? Best game that I've ever played for me was Elder Scrolls, right? Morrowind, Oblivion, Skyrim. Why? Because the lore of that is so deep that it goes beyond the games. I love that. Then recently, I guess just a year ago, 6 months ago, I learned about SCP and how a lot of that is deep. And now I'm learning there's such thing as Warhammer 40k, which has even more ridiculously deep lore. I didn't know things like this existed, but the more I find it, the more I'm having fun. Like, yeah, I like things like this. So it's gonna be fun. Remember, if you like my reaction, don't forget to like and subscribe so I know which type of videos to react to more, I guess. Check out the reaction today, there's a link in the description. Check out the cards for different playlists I created, check out the end cards, and yeah, let's watch this one.
As someone who doesn't necessarily serve the Omnissiah, but someone who can appreciate them, you will not be getting my legs today, as I will be replacing them with various things depending on which faction we are currently talking about, to add a little bit more context and possible comedy to whatever the hell I am currently doing. So, hello everybody, my name is Bricky, and this is going to be a long video and a large project that has been going on for quite some time. This is... I need 2 hands for this. This is every single Warhammer 40k race in kind of a nutshell, explained, a little bit of explanation, a little bit of lore, a little bit of talking about the tabletop, mostly lore, what they're all about, and also a little bit of background for those of you who just have no clue what Warhammer 40,000 is. Now you see, Warhammer and Warhammer 40,000 is a universe people hear plenty of, but don't know a whole lot about. They see, oh, there's these dudes in big power armor with chainsaw swords, and they got these big old green orcs, and there's some bugs over there, and everyone calls these guys weebs, and then there's these spiky bitches over here, and I don't get it. I don't understand. Where do I start? Well, this video is particularly for you, or for those of you who have a little bit of knowledge, but you're kind of curious about each of the different races and factions in Warhammer. So overall, the Warhammer universe is vast when it comes to lore and background, and each different faction is so different with the things that they believe in, and some
all of that.
And background and each different.
Damn, look at that. Adepta, how many factions are there? Where is the Astartes faction, right? That eagle thing. It's not here? I mean, only watch Astartes about this, right? I mean, there is this, power armor type of guys. And I ask who's the good guy, and people just overwhelmingly commented there is no good guys. Everything's dark. Apparently this is grimdark. So, there was that, and there was some magical people in the other side, and then in the end there was some kind of an orb thing, which I was confused about.
Faction is so different with the things that they believe in, and some are human, some are transhuman, like where they all have all these crazy ass electronics on them. You've got aliens, and you've got the chaos factions, and there's so much to entail that I decided to embark on this project to tell you what each and every single one of them is about, and what the Warhammer universe is about as well, to give at least a little bit of an intro to this
let's go.
Extremely bloated,
I'm hyped.
Very, very enjoyable world that I and many others partake in. So, I will be explaining every single faction in the Warhammer 40k universe, at least all the factions you can play as, and some smaller factions here and there. I will not be discussing absolutely everything in it, because that is a little bit much, and I'm not going to go too mega deep into the lore. I'm going to give you a pretty solid overview of each of the different factions and have you learn a little bit about them, and we'll discuss a little bit of the tabletop as well, in case you are curious about that. But for this episode entirely, we are discussing the Imperium of Man, because that takes up a fat chunk of Warhammer lore. What is Warhammer 40,000? Well, the 40,000 starts off is the year 40,000. The 41st millennium, that's where it takes place, is in the year 40,000, 41,000 AD.
Okay, I like how they just use the word millennium rather than century. Otherwise, it would be what, 410th century or something. So 41st millennia. That's awesome. So this is in year 40,000. Damn, that is so good, right? Because people usually just go a few years ahead, right? Basically 1,000, 2,000, but they just went all the way 40,000 because fuck it. It makes sense because things are such different from reality. I guess if you go to 40,000 years, I guess it explains a bit. Wait a minute, is this from the same universe that we are? This is we're supposed to think that this is some fictional universe that has nothing to do with us. Because if it's our universe and all these things exist, that implies that there are things that we don't know today in a way.
You're already more knowledgeable. Let me read you a quote, first of many quotes in this video. It is the 41st millennium. For more than 100 years, the Emperor has sat immobile on the golden throne of Earth. He is the master of mankind by the will of the gods, and master of 1,000,000 worlds by the might of his inexhaustible armies. He is a rotting carcass, writhing invisibly with power from the dark age of technology.
What?
He is the carrion lord of the Imperium, for whom 1,000 souls are sacrificed every day so that he may never truly die.
Damn.
To be a man in such times is to be amongst untold billions. It is to live in the cruelest and most bloody regime imaginable. These are the tales of those times. Forget the power of technology and science, for so much has been forgotten, never to be relearned. Forget the promise of progress and understanding, for in the grim, dark future, there is only war. There is no peace amongst the stars, only an eternity of carnage and slaughter, and the laughter of thirsting gods. Everything blows. And it blows fucking hard. Warhammer is probably the most dark and depressing universes ever in fiction, or at least like top 3. Everything is so absurdly horrible, destructive, or overpowered that it all kind of ends up canceling itself out. It's like Dota. War rages across the galaxy. Interstellar travel is only possible due to sacrificing 1,000 souls a day to a rotting carcass of a man who you believe to be your god. Demonic gods and just...
Okay, first of all, if I were alive around this time, if I just walked in and see that, I would die just seeing that. What the fuck is that? Look at that. This is ridiculous. So let me get this straight, right? We are in a time which is like 41st millennia, 40,000 AD, right? But in that time, lots of scientific knowledge has been lost. And apparently it's such a grim, dark universe that, people are constantly at each other's throat and war, that no scientific advancement is happening. So, even though lots of things are advanced because technology that's stuck around, lots of things people are not trying to find out and advance the scientific frontier. So anybody wants to make an interstellar travel has to go through this god, right? Like you have to sacrifice 1,000 souls every day. So this god would basically let you interstellar travel somehow. Damn, that is some detail. I'm loving this already.
Carcass of a man who you believe to be your god. Demonic gods and just demons tear open the fabric of reality on a whim. Other Xenos or even other humans end up killing each other in untold billions across the galaxy. It is a time of unending war, slaughter, and a bloodbath amongst everybody. Planets are deemed unrecoverable and are completely destroyed on a whim. Everything sucks, but that's like the charm of it. See, everything in Warhammer is evil, but being evil is kind of fun. Like humanity in its own right is a xenophobic, prejudice, and religious zealot group that kill each other just as much as they kill all of their enemies. And they're like mid to high tier evil on the
My roles, that guy, Tau players, Imperium of Man, Elder, Orcs, Tyranids, playing low tier for fun, playing by intent, guys who bring food. Yeah, okay. See, there is a charm to that for apparent reason, because in our own self we kind of feel that, like, reality of world is kind of dark that we live in already, right? If we peel away everything, there is always something dark, right? About our own world. So whenever we see a grim, dark universe, it feels realistic to us, even though it's way too over the top. It feels like, yeah, but I can understand this somewhat. Everything's dark. It's human nature, I guess. Everybody wants to kill everybody. Yeah, I can understand that as well. That is something. That is why I think Fallout series work, because Fallout can be lots of fun, and obviously recent installment Fallout 4 and Fallout 76 has become this kind of a too much settlement building, and yeah, everybody's happy doing that weird kind of poses and things just for fun's sake. But original Fallout, right? Original Fallout, Fallout 3, New Vegas, these are surviving dark times after post-apocalyptic, right? That's why people find it, because it's dark, right? There is very little hope about things. I'm not saying completely dark, but that's the concept of it. That's why people love Fallout. So whenever there's grim darkness like that, like, there is no, good guy and hoping for the good future mentality. It's just surviving, I guess. It's just everything's dark, everything at each other's throat, everybody's killing each other. And this kind of a detail when you put into things is just awesome.
Evil scale of Warhammer, nobody is good. No matter who you are, everyone is some flavor, some color of evil. Whoever you pick, you are going to be the bad guy. But that's the fun of it. Because being the bad guy is badass. Villains are cool. They look cool, they got cool outfits, they got cool weapons, they got cool armies. Villains are cool, man. And when everyone is a villain, everyone is pretty cool. That's what makes this so charming, is that everyone can be the bad guy. So let's start off talking about the main bad guy, quote unquote, the Imperium of Man.
It's hair, whack. It's gear, whack.
The Imperium of Man is the main empire of the human race. All of humanity is under this one flag called the Imperium. And about 10,000 years ago, there was a man. He was the Emperor of mankind, a 10-foot tall psychic demigod who led humanity across the stars to colonize tons and tons of worlds, create superhuman soldiers, and really bring humanity into a new age. This man, the Emperor of Mankind, was a psyker. And a psyker is like a magician of sorts. In the world of 40k, there is the warp, the immaterium, kind of like hell, but sort of like a purgatory dimension of hell. And a psyker is someone who can take that power and manifest it through their mind to use it to do stuff, like witchcraft stuff, magician stuff, spells, and lots of other things, but we don't want to get too into that. The Emperor, big boy psyker. Top tier, A+, maybe even S. Now, the Emperor created a bunch of suns. Yes, created a bunch of suns.
So there are psychers who exist in this, I guess, universe, but the top tier psyker is the Emperor, who apparently is God, because he can manipulate dimensions, and that makes, I guess, interstellar travel possible. And the history is that he made sure the humanity is at its peak. He colonized different part of universes and things. But where did he come from? Any detail about that?
Known as the Primarks. He created 18 Primarks to have them lead all of the different legions of humanity to the different stars and plans to help colonize and bring it out. These Primarks are basically like little versions of the Emperor. Not all of them are psychers, but a lot of them are very, very powerful, and they lead his special Space Marine legions. Then this big clusterfuck happened called the Horus Heresy, where the Emperor's favorite son, the Primarch, Horus, ended up joining Chaos and leading 9 of the 18, half of his Primarchs directly to Earth to fight down the Emperor himself. Now, if you want to know what Chaos is, remember what I mentioned earlier, the warp, that immaterium, the hellish place? In there relies the 4 Chaos gods. Imagine like Satan and 3 other Satans. The warp being kind of evil, those Chaos gods, that's the reason. And so those Chaos gods manipulated Horus, and then Horus helped manipulate all 8 other Primarchs to lead this giant coup directly on the Emperor.
Wait a minute, so these Chaos gods, is the Emperor one of them? Because he's the top tier psyker or whatever, and he can manipulate that kind of dimension. Is he one of them? Or he's just one of the guys who can manipulate it, but he's not god of it, so he's not part of the Chaos gods. Are Chaos Guard more powerful than the Emperor?
Emperor on Earth, and they fucked up shit. After this huge civil war, Horus died, but not before brutally wounding the Emperor, and right at the end of his life, they put the Emperor on this large golden throne on Earth, in which he is now alive, just barely, but slowly rotting away, powering something called the Astronomicon, so long as he stays alive, and is fed 1,000 people a day. The Astronomicon is like the North Star. If you want to do interstellar travel in 40k, you need to pass through that demonic warp I mentioned earlier. But how do you know where you're going? Well, the Emperor is there putting a nice little navigator right there. He helps navigate you to know where you're going. If you want to go from Earth to some crazy solar system across the way, you need to go through that warp, and then you need to know where you're going, go through there, and pop your way out. It's like doing nether travel in Minecraft, so you can shorten the distance between going to areas. So long as the Emperor...
So wait a minute, is Emperor... are people keeping the Emperor alive so they can interstellar travel, basically? Or Emperor are still in charge and Emperor is telling people to do things? Because he's barely alive, he's rotting away. But they need to sacrifice 1,000 souls just to keep him barely alive. So is he writhing in pain and people are just using him, or he's still in charge and is telling people what to do?
Emperor is alive and being fed 1,000 people a day to stay alive, you can do that. The moment he dies, interstellar travel's gone for all of humanity. You're so boned. Now, since the Horus heresy 10,000 years ago, the Imperium has fallen from grace substantially. All technology has started to dwindle and die. There is now giant fundamental religious extremists that now believe the Emperor of Mankind was a deity, a true living god, which is probably the last thing the Emperor would have wanted to be remembered for. So now you have this thing called the ecclesiarchy, which is...
Why the Emperor didn't want it to be remembered for as a god?
This giant church entirely devoted to spreading the good word of the Emperor. He is now the Holy Emperor God, the God Emperor of mankind, and all of the Imperium has taken up worshiping him to the fullest extent and killing anything that isn't humanity in his name. The Imperium has this futuristic gothic tone to it and a hefty religious zealotry to them. If you think anything against the Emperor, that's heresy and you deserve to die. That is called being a heretic. Heretics die in 40k. There is no such thing as freedom of religion. There is no such thing as freedom of speech, so long as you...
Yeah, I get that point when you say 1,000 souls needs to be sacrificed. I'm pretty sure lots of people don't want to die, but I think they wouldn't have given them choice. So I guess lots of freedom goes out of the window. And obviously no freedom of religion, because these people just believe he's God at the end, nobody speak anything of it. That makes sense, since, you know, after the heresy and the war that happened, lots of technology is lost, but lots of, you know, scientific advancements are not happening. So people are stuck with what they have. And since people cannot advance a frontier and can't, I guess, you know what they have and how to interstellar, because they have to feed this god. By then, people are starting to think like, oh, that's a god and we should worship him. That's where this kind of a mentality comes from. When you don't have know-how to, I guess, advance a scientific field, advance anything, but you just are stuck with certain technology, and that is a thing that basically lets you interstellar travel, you're gonna see that thing as a god. I mean, it makes sense.
Are against the Emperor. There is no such thing as any kind of tolerance. Everyone is a religious zealot. Some more than others, but no matter what, you preach in that good word. So right now, everyone in humanity is trying to expand their empire across the stars. If you are a heretic, someone who doesn't believe in the Emperor, you are deserving of death. If you believe in the Chaos Gods, you are also a heretic and you deserve death. If you are an alien race of any kind, you are a filthy Xenos and you deserve death as well. So long as the murder continues and humanity expands, the Imperium of Man is very, very happy. However...
I love this, man. First of all, in any alien interstellar type of story, humanity is always seen like, you know, good enough guy at least, or the protagonist at least. In this one, humanity is that kind of a Nazi type of just killing everything that is not human, which is not part of Imperium of man. And we are bad guy, but so is everybody. But still, you know, we are killing these aliens because we are evil. Humanity is evil. This is awesome. I've never seen any story was like this.
The largest fighting force of this Imperium is my personal favorite faction, and the first faction we will discuss, the Astronomicon, or also known as the Imperial Guard.
Pretty shit now, man. You finished? That's it, man. Game over, man.
The Imperial Guard is the main fighting force of the Imperium, and in a world of horrifying creatures, galactic monstrosities, the literal demons themselves breaking through the fabric of time to kill you, the Imperial Guard are untold billions of regular men and women wearing modern day like flak armor with a laser rifle. This is the humble las gun, the main weapon of the Imperial Guard. It fires superheated plasma lasers at an extremely fast fire rate. It is reliable, never jams. It can blow off limbs, giant holes in concrete. It is overall an extremely devastating weapon in modern day. It is one of the weakest in the 40k universe. Yeah, a laser rifle that never jams, it could blow off limbs, one of the weakest weapons. That's the world we're in right now. But who cares? Because the Imperial Guard has, in each battle, 500,000 of these men and women.
Okay, so this is the main force of Imperium man, right? But they have such a weak ass weapon, but there are so many of them, it doesn't matter. It's like, you know, how Russia fought in World War I. Just number is enough, I guess. That's how the mentality is.
30,000 large armored tanks, 10,000 artillery batteries. The Imperial Guard wins through sheer numbers and firepower. They kind of have this World War I, World War II style aesthetic with legions of guardsmen as well as high company commanders and generals on the field along with them, and multiple kinds of troops. A normal Imperial Guard battle starts off with artillery, long lines of artillery, cracking the crust of the planet underneath the enemy's feet. And as this barrage continues, hundreds of thousands of guardsmen, a sea of guardsmen surges forward, firing and charging at everything possible while the planet rumbles as tanks roll up behind them. Gunships block out the sun and tanks block out the dirt with the steps and hoofprints of millions of guards.
Alright, hold up there. First, I was just about to say, like, this is your favorite faction? Really? It's just some weak ass weapon and just overpowering. But then he started to put this image in my head, like, okay, they are going against the planet and they are so much in numbers, their equipment are also so much in number, artillery, everything. So when they attack, the planet's crust itself starts to crumble. That is a holy shit level of power. Damn, I can't even process that. Yeah, I mean, they have some, you know, basic equipment, but so much of that equipment is there. They are actually causing geological earthquakes and rumbling of the crust itself. And then the tanks come, there are so many tanks, the entire, you know, earth shakes or something, entire planet shakes. Now I see why it's his favorite faction, because that is just awesome.
It is through numbers and sheer sundering firepower. They are the first and last line of defense for the Imperium and make up a huge bulk of the battles. The Imperial Guard is also made up of tons of different kinds of regiments. The Catachin jungle fighters live in a death world that's more hospitable than almost any firefight they'll ever get into. So they just have this steroid-looking, giant knife, Rambo Predator-looking sons of bitches where nothing is anywhere near as scary as a simple knight on their home planet. You have the Valhallan winter soldiers who haven't felt their toes in 300 years, the Mordian Iron Guard who are more interested in making their shoes shine than actually fighting a battle, and then of course the big one, the Cadians from Cadia. The biggest export of guardsmen in the entirety of the Imperium. You will fire your first gun at 5. You will disassemble and reassemble it at 10. You will have pounding artillery drills day in and day out at 15. And you'll fight your first Swarm Lord at 16. And if you mention Cadia, you will burst into an unrelenting amount of tears and sadness like I do daily. To quote I have at my command an entire battle group of the Imperial Guard. 50 regiments including specialized drop troops, stealthers, mechanized formations, armored companies, combat engineers, and mobile artillery. Over 500,000 fighting men and 30,000 tanks and artillery pieces are mine to command. Emperor, show mercy to the fool that stands against me, for I shall not. The Imperial Guard are my personal favorite faction in 40k. They're the army I collect the most, the ones I enjoy playing the most, and the one I enjoy in the lore sense a lot. There's something about just a regular man with a laser rifle being told to charge the horrors of this universe and willingly doing so for his god emperor. It's just poetic. They actually represent the main...
Yeah, I mean, that is so... Not to mention that power of them comes from the sheer number. That is just awesome. You know, psychoanalyzing, I would think, like, if this is the kind of grim world you live in, what is the motivation for you to fight at that number, knowing that you just have basic rifle, you probably will die because there's so many of you. I mean, and you know, world is so dark that there is war all the time. There is no hope for peace anywhere, right? It's grim dark world. So what is the, I guess, since they're zealot, right? I mean, they believe in God for everything. I guess their mentality must be like, for God, I must do this. This is my calling or something like that. Like how religious zealot people are. Maybe that's the thing.
You know, Imperial Guard tactics pretty well. Large amounts of artillery that doesn't require a line of sight, lots of tanks, tons of infantry, drop troops, and gunships. Overall, they're pretty similar to how they sound, though a little bit expensive to collect, unfortunately. And they don't hit a lot. They have a bit of a bad aim, but you don't really care because you're just drowning them in shots. However, if you want more accurate fire and specialization, we can move on to talk about Spetsmarines.
Okay, you know what? This video's been for 30 minutes. I think we're gonna stop there. It's good that he put on chapters there, right? Next time we're gonna tackle Angels of Death. This video alone will take, what, 3 videos to make, and there is also second part. God knows. I'm gonna have to take, what, 6-7 video part of this. This is damn long. And I hope in the end I remember everything. I mean, so far I do, right? I mean, this is awesome. The details, the lore that is coming is awesome. Imperium man, there is God, who basically was a king once, but he was, you know, psyker, so somebody who can manipulate this, you know, different dimension. Then that dimension has a certain section of God, chaos gods or something, who manipulated his sons and created this entire war. So, you know, for the reference part, it kind of feels somewhat similar to me as Elder Scrolls about how Aedra and Daedra were, right? There is war about that. I mean, not complete similarities, but at least I can imagine the picture, like different dimension, somebody who can manipulate different dimension, and he's a powerful, so he became a god in the end, but his sons are also got manipulated by this dimension's gods, chaos gods, and so there is, you know, friction between them. So I guess there are going to be more wars in the future, because this same chaos gods would try to manipulate more people to, I guess, assert their dominance. So far this has been awesome. An Imperium of men, and you know, the soldiers, what they just said. The concept is so good, right? Simplicity. They are just simple. They have simple armor, simple weapon, but they are outnumbering. That is enough for them to be overpowering. I mean, that is so awesome. I'm gonna load the more faction counts, because they are the weakest in, you know, gunpowder basically. But there will be factions who are not overpowering, but their equipment, you know, armor and everything is way too devastating. I'm gonna fun watching that too. One thing I don't realize it, like Bethesda makes Elder Scrolls, right? Why isn't there a AAA company like that trying to make a Warhammer game? I know people said in the start of this video there is a game about Warhammer or something, but I bet it's not like Elder Scrolls and Fallout level of giant game with deep lore and with great developer and AAA funding or something like that. Because I think I would have known that if there was, because I know almost all good enough AAA games. I never come across any like that. So some developer like Bethesda or somebody has to, you know, tackle something like that. BioWare probably, I don't know, Obsidian with AAA funding should make some Warhammer deep lore game like that, because it would be so awesome. Alright people, if you like my reaction, don't forget to like and subscribe so I know which type of videos to react to more, I guess. You know, hit the bell notification too. You'll know when I upload next Warhammer from Bricky, I guess, Warhammer video. And yeah, I'll see you next time.